Shutter Speed, Episode 10. What's in my toolbox? I've spent most of my career helping people figure out what they want to do in their lives, helping businesses take their business to the next level, helping people take their mindset to the next level, helping businesses become benchmark businesses and improve profits. That's why I really started this podcast. I want to help people take their love and their passion and their hobby of photography and start generating revenue from it. Today, I'm talking about 12 different tools that I've incorporated into my business. These might be tools that a lot of photographers don't use, but I've used in other businesses, and I know it helps in my photography business. So that coming up today on Shutter Speed.
Do you love photography? Are you somebody that wants more out of your photography, to make money from your photography but don't know how to start? Welcome to Shutter Speed. Your host, Peter Spakowski, will guide you with tips, strategies, interviews, and know-how to start making money to pay for date night, new gear, or start a full-time career with your passion of photography. Let's get this show started. Here's your host, Peter Spakowski.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to Shutter Speed. My name is Peter Spakowski and I am your host. Welcome to episode 10. This is part 1 of 2 parts that I'm going to be discussing the different tools that I use in my photography business to help run my business, to help streamline my business, to help automate some of my business so it frees up my time where I can spend more time taking pictures and doing the things that I love in my business. Before we get to that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on at 2mm Academy. The podcast is going, it's rolling. We're in episode 10 now. Some of the tools that I'm talking about today, I'm building training courses to help people fully utilize some of these tools in their photography business. Some of these tools are maybe not necessarily for photographers, but I've used them for photographers because I see them as being the best in the business. I'm really picky when I go and look at what applications I use, what services I use, and I research the heck out of them. And I don't just research the heck out of them. I go through and I usually do the free trials to figure out what one works the best for me. A lot of these, you can also go out and use a free trial and try it for a little bit to see how it works for you. I'm also going to have my affiliate links. And even those applications that I don't have affiliates with, I'm going to put all those links to all these tools in the show notes. So if you want to go and check out the show notes, you can go and check out all the different tools. I'll also make sure that I'll advertise which ones I'm creating a training course for. This is a free podcast. The only thing that I ask is that you share it with at least one other individual, one other person who loves photography. Maybe they want to start making money from photography and they don't know how, or maybe they're just somebody that loves photography and they never even thought about it and never even thought how some of the things that you can do in photography are so easy to start generating revenue. You can either just leave those pictures on your hard drive, or you can use them to start generating revenue for you. Revenue that you generate while you sleep. These are things that I talk about on this podcast. These are things that I talk about at the 2MM Academy. I started the 2MM Academy to help people start generating revenue. And today I'm talking about the different tools that I use. It's split up into 2 parts, because there is a lot of tools in here. I have 12 of them listed, and I'm going to go into detail in each one, and I don't want to overwhelm people. I even thought about splitting it up into 3 and make it 3 shorter ones, but I think 2 are good. If you find that you're getting overloaded on the number of tools that I'm talking about, stop, go listen to another podcast, come back to this one when your mind is fresh, and you'll be able to remember so much more. So Here are my tools. They're not in any certain order. I started to organize them in order of importance. So the first 4 or 5 are actually the top tools that I feel like people need to use in their photography business. The first one is my website. My website drives 90% of my business right now. You want to get to a point where word of mouth is helping, but my website seems to run about 90% of my business. And not just my new customers, my old customers. A lot of them will go to my website to schedule an appointment. They don't call me. They don't email me. They just know my website is so easy to schedule an appointment. They just go there and schedule an appointment. It's set up in such a way that it makes it very easy for people to go and find out prices, to find out about corporate shoots, find out about headshots, to contact me. I use the Divi Theme. This is one of the things that I researched the heck out of for my website, was the different theme I wanted to use. I'm pretty proficient. I used to own a web development company, but I still wanted one that was easy. I did not want to spend all those hours I used to as a developer. I wanted to create something that was easy for anybody. The intent was I wanted it to be easy for anybody so I could talk about it on this podcast, because it's a great theme and it's easy to use. And there's also a ton of videos on YouTube teaching you how to develop your website on their different modules, on their different plugins. So the Divi Theme is fantastic. It lays everything out the way that I need it. Everything sits in modules and it's very easy to control, and it's responsive. So you create it for your desktop and it looks fantastic on your iPad, on your phone, whatever it is, on the TV. The theme looks great. It looks fantastic. It looks really sharp. I have so many people complimenting me on my website. That's one of the tools that I'm working on developing for this business. Is I want to offer a package where I'm reviewing people's websites for them, reviewing websites, reviewing keywords, reviewing certain things that you need to have set up in your website that helps your ranking in Google. I use Bluehost for my website hosting. You can use GoDaddy. There's multiple other ones. I've had some in GoDaddy before, but I'm leaning more towards Bluehost right now. Bluehost just seems to be so much faster. It's faster. It's actually cheaper, and their customer service is spot on. I also don't get a lot of salespeople calling me all the time trying to upgrade my package that I have with them. So it's Bluehost for hosting. I do use GoDaddy and Bluehost for my domain names. You need to have a domain name. And if you have a hard name like mine, Peter Spakowski, that's hard for people to spell. It's hard for people to go onto their computer and go to my website, either search my name or type it into the web address bar, unless they have it written on a piece of paper or my business card in front of them. It's hard for them to use. So my studio is 2mm Studios, 2mm Studios, something a lot easier. If you want to learn more about naming your photography business, using your name is great if you've got an easy name to use. But if you don't, you might want to look at another way. And what are the best ways to name your photography business? You need to have that. You need to have a domain name. Domain names have been out there a long time. You need to get creative to find a website or a domain name that's available. The next tool that I use is my scheduling software. I use Acuity. I know there's multiple different scheduling packages out there. There's some that are very specific for photographers. Acuity is not very specific for photographers, but it's awesome. I love it. It's something that I've used in businesses in the past. It's something that I recommend business owners use that need to create some kind of scheduling software, from lawn service companies and painting companies to leadership training to offering online training courses. There's so many different things that you can do to create links within Acuity and allow people to schedule. The main reason that I chose Acuity is it integrates with Zoom. When somebody schedules an appointment, you can actually create an appointment that will also create a Zoom link. As a photographer, there's a lot of consulting sessions to really find out what the person wants, what the person is really looking for. And if you embed and create a Zoom link when that person schedules that appointment with you, it's less work that you have to do. It's less work worrying that you need to go out there and create a link and send it to this person. Or if you've sent them the right link, it creates the link. It creates a calendar entry in both their calendar and yours. And that was the main reason why I chose Acuity. And I can have multiple different types of businesses across Acuity, and it works great. It works seamless. It syncs between all my calendars. I've used Google Calendar. I now use O365 Calendar. If I create a personal event, I can create a personal event on my O365 calendar and mark it as busy. It fills in the slot within Acuity, so somebody does not schedule a photography appointment on top of that. If I go in there and create an appointment in my personal O365 calendar and mark it as free, because it's maybe something I'm going to do, maybe not. If an appointment comes up or a client wants to schedule an appointment, I'll go do that instead, but it leaves that spot open on your business calendar so people can schedule against it. There's a lot of flexibility with syncing between different calendars. One thing that I think has been the best thing in Acuity is the auto email reminders. I use it. I set up directions for them, both directions for their photography session or their picture session. I've also used it for directions on how to get to wherever we're shooting, but I really like it so you can remind people that they have an appointment coming up. Some people schedule an appointment 2 months out, and this automatically starts reminding the person 14 days out that they have an appointment. I set up reminders at 14 days, 7 days, 3 days, 1 day, and 1 hour before the appointment. And each of those email reminders has a different theme. One might be, hey, here's what you want to look like. Here's what you want to wear to the photography session. Here's what your makeup needs to look like during that photography session. Here's directions and what your photography session is going to look like. Are we going to do hair and makeup? Are we going to do clothing changes? And it's automatic. You don't have to worry about sending these reminders out. When the photography session's done, after 1 day, after 24 hours, the customer and the client gets an email asking them how their session was. Do they want to leave a Google review? After 6 months, after a year, it says, hey, it's been a little while since you've had a picture taken. It's been a little while since you've had a headshot. We age. We need to keep our headshots current. It's suggested that we keep headshots current. If you've gone through any major changes, if you've gone through any major weight loss, if you've gone through any major aging, if you've gone through any major weight loss or weight gain, those are things that we suggest that people take headshots for. People do age. Once they get over 25 years old, they age quite a bit every 2 years, every 1 year. Kids age all the time. We take pictures of them every year in school. And what do? We put their headshot up on their wall. And some parents keep collections of every year's headshot from school. We need to do the same as an adult, right? We need to keep pictures current. Maybe there's events coming up, but More importantly, what it does, it's name repetition. It gets your name out in front of your customer over and over and over again. And it's also a CRM database. You can keep track of all your customers that you've had. And if you're running any specials, you can use it to send them an email. Send them an email that you're doing a holiday session, that you're doing a mini session for the summer. Whatever it is, Acuity can send out these messages and do it automatically. And it saves so much time. And not only that, I have never had a conflict between taking pictures, between clients, between personal events where I've got a conflict, where I've got a personal event and a client scheduled an appointment. I've never had that happen one single time. So that means I've never had to disappoint somebody that I couldn't show up to their personal event. But it also means I haven't had to disappoint a client calling them and saying, hey, I'm really sorry, I'm not available during this date. So Acuity is great. It's one of those things that I am developing a training package on 2MM Academy for. If you want to stay informed on these classes that I'm offering, head over to 2mmacademy.com. Sign up for my email list. You'll get a book on the 5 ways to start generating revenue by the weekend. You could pay for dinner. You could pay for new gear by the weekend. Even if you start on Thursday, you could be having dinner paid for by your photography by Saturday or Sunday night. So Acuity is one of the courses I'm working on. I'm really looking forward to it. It's one that I'm spending a lot of time on developing, and I hope to get it out there soon for everybody. But go and sign up for that email list just so you stay informed. The next tool that I use, and it's a tool that I've used for 15 years. I've used it since, 2006, 2007. But it's a tool that I have had struggles with in the past. And Adobe has done such a fantastic job. All the bugs that I had, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, they're no longer there. If you want to find out, go and listen to episode 7 of this podcast. I debated, what do you want to use, Capture One or Lightroom? A lot of professionals use Capture One, and I did too for a while, but recently I switched back to Lightroom. My subscription to Capture One actually expired this month. So go and listen to episode 7 if you want to find out why I chose Lightroom over Capture One. And I'll get into more detail. I'll touch on it here a little bit, but if you want to find out more detail about why I chose Lightroom, both of them are great. I love both of them, actually, and that's why it was such a big struggle. Both of them were such good applications. But what Lightroom did better, or what I had an easier time using Lightroom for, is the real reason why I chose Lightroom. But 90% of my editing today is done in Lightroom. When I used Capture One, maybe 20% of my editing was done. But in Lightroom, 90% of my editing is done right in Lightroom. The biggest thing that I switch over to Photoshop for is the spot healing brush, right? If you need to fix something and you need to remove something out of the picture, Lightroom still does not do a great job at that. But a lot of the features, a lot of the editing, a lot of the camera raw editing that I used to use Photoshop for, Adobe's done such a good job. They've integrated it into Lightroom. And I can go in there and I can adjust exposure. I can adjust brightness. But what I like the most is it's one catalog for all my pictures. One catalog for all my pictures. And it's got a really good AI. I didn't touch on this back in episode 7, but it actually has a really good AI search now. You used to have to tag the heck out of everything. But now, if I wanted to say woman holding red cell phone and type that in there, it will go out and find a woman holding a red cell phone. I don't have to tag it at all. the search is so smart, it looks for it itself. And that has been a huge benefit. But what I do is I will go out and I will tag things in Lightroom with different tags, whether it's a stock image, whether it's a portfolio image, whether it's a corporate shoot or a headshot. Those are things that I do tag in there. And then I create catalogs, and I can just go to my tag called portfolio, and all my portfolio pictures are there. I keep 10 to 15 in there at any time, and it reads across all my portfolio or all my sessions or all my catalogs in Lightroom. So any of my collections, it'll go and search for anything that I've tagged as portfolio. And I can add or subtract images as simple as that. I don't have to go across and open multiple different sessions like I would in other software. Number 4 is Photoshop. I continue to use Photoshop. Adobe has a great package out there where you can subscribe to Lightroom and Photoshop. I don't want to get into the whole subscription debate. I feel it's completely worth it. I wouldn't want to do it any other way, even if Adobe sold each of these software packages individually. I used to spend over $700 on Adobe products. I mean, when the Adobe Photographer Suite would come out, I would spend $700 to $1,000 just for Lightroom, Photoshop, and a couple other software packages. Today, you can get it for $10 a month. You can't beat that. And at the rate that new packages come out, you're always upgraded to the latest and greatest. You don't have to worry about going out and spending a lot of money on a new package. I actually have the top tier of Adobe, so I get all their suite. I get all their video editing. I get all their audio editing. Photoshop, though, has been great. Photoshop, I absolutely love to use, and I feel like every photographer needs to have Photoshop because you go in there and you fine-tune the little things. You do any spot healing, right? You do use the clone tool. When I take my pictures into Photoshop from Lightroom, I'm mainly doing two things. I'm either using the cloning tool or the healing brush. Those are the two things that I will use in Photoshop. The rest is done in Lightroom. But Lightroom does not do cloning, and it does not do spot healing nowhere near as well as Photoshop does. Photoshop, it's flawless most of the time. And even the spot healing brush, it does a really good job. And if it doesn't, use the patching tool. And what the patching tool does is you can highlight a certain area, pick a different area to clone it or to spot or to patch with, and it adjusts the color for that area of the picture automatically for you. You don't have to worry about doing any burning or anything like that to get the color to match. It's fantastic. So Photoshop is my next item I need to have in my photography business. What are you going to do with all these pictures? What are you going to do with all these great pictures that you're taking? Nobody prints anymore. So I really hope that people take the time and print. Take pictures and print them. Buy those shelves, those 3 or 4 inch shelves that are 4 or 5 feet long. Mount them to your wall and start getting prints taken, whether you use a printer or use a printing company, and mount it on a piece of foam core and put it on your mantle. It's a discussion piece, right? People come and they see your pictures and you can talk to them about them. There's stories behind their pictures. You can print books, put them out on tables for people to see. But for me, right now, I use Bay Photo for my photo editing. Bay Photo has been fantastic. If I've printed anything in the past year and a half, it's been with Bay Photo. And I went to WPPI back in 2020, right before the COVID virus, right when the airports were shutting down. I was at that WPPI. I think we were all passing COVID back and forth between each other. But Bay Photo, ever since that moment, ever since that time that I went there, their exhibit was just phenomenal. I was looking for some place to print on acrylic or metal prints for a lighthouse, Cape Hatteras, that I took in the Carolinas, in the Outer Banks. And I wanted a 7-foot panoramic picture on acrylic or on metal for this lighthouse. Bay Photo's exhibit just blew me away. I don't know if it's because they specifically had acrylic prints and they specifically had metal prints out that were gigantic and the colors were just so vibrant. Bay Photos really impressed me. The other thing is, with my proofing company that I use, Bay Photo was integrated, so that made it easier. But there's a lot of great printing companies out there today. You need to find one where you like the color that they print, and a lot of them will offer free prints just for professional photographers, and they'll offer you some certain, whether it's a certain dollar value or a certain type of print. I've had, several companies where I've gotten big pictures printed, or fairly large printers or pictures printed and put on my wall, and those were free because a printing company was trying to attract my business. If you go out there and you just find and let people know that you're a professional photographer, you can get some free prints that way. And everything that I got, there's Snapfish out there, Millers. I used Millers and MPix for years and years and years. And I still love MPix and Millers printing. They're still one of the best ones out there. The reason I went with more Bay Photo is it integrated with my proofing company, as I talked about earlier. But you need to find the printing company that works best for you, that works best for your coloring. We all have a certain theme. We all have a certain genre that we use for landscape photography, for headshot photography. For me, I like Bay Photo. Bay Photo, just the different packages they offer. They also offer certain products that other companies don't offer. Certain size prints and style prints. They offer some that other companies either I didn't know offered or I couldn't find when I went to their website. And so I ended up purchasing them from Bay Photo. So it depends on the product. Go and look at all the different products, whether you need coffee mugs or pictures for your wall or printer or pictures printed on boxes, which a lot of companies are doing today, and it looks great. And it's a great present for grandma or mom or even dad for Father's Day coming up. So there's a lot that we can do in photography now that makes our pictures extra special. There's companies out there that will put little, like, not iPads, but just different tablets, like the old picture, those picture frames where you could load pictures up and you could put it on your desk and it would flip through the pictures. There's people that are doing that now and putting them in books. So when you open up the book, it looks like you're looking at a photo album, kind of like a Kindle where you can swipe the pages and flip through the pictures. That's great as a professional photographer to show your clients, to get an edge above your competitors. Get your pictures printed in these books so when you sit with your clients, you can pull out this book. It's got your logo, your name on the cover, and it looks really professional, and you can flip through the pages. So you need to have a good printing company. A printing company will make or break you as a photographer, so make sure you test them out before you have clients order through them. Those are 5 tools that I wanted to bring up today in just part 1. I've got 7 more. I've got 7 more for next week that I'm not going to go in much detail about, but I didn't want this podcast being an hour long. I didn't want it being an hour and a half long. So that's all I had for today. Go and check out 2mmacademy.com. Go and listen to these past episodes that link into this one. That's episode 2 and episode 7 of this podcast. It's got a lot of really good information. There's other podcasts out there talking about fortifying your income in photography. What's better, Capture One or Lightroom? There's so much out there that I'm bringing to you here today for free. Go and pass this podcast on to somebody else. I look forward to talking to you next week. Go out there, take pictures, get better, do what you do what you love. Until next week, take care.
Thank you for listening today. We would love to hear from you and would love you to engage with the community. For more tools, tips, and know-how, head over to the 2mm Academy at 2mmstudio.com and join us.